Hi people, it's me again of course as always and as usual, Marino Wavenberg. In this video I'm going to be discussing a spirit called Naani or Naana. I'm going to henceforth refer to this spirit as Naani. That's N-A-A-N-I, as you can tell from the header. Long story short, I also need to say that from now on I'm going to try to keep my videos for personal reasons as short as possible. And I think that the majority of people would also prefer that in general when it comes to miscellaneous subjects, so either spirit or non-spirit related, you name it. I'll only have extensive videos when it's unavoidable, of course, when I simply need to discuss everything in a timely manner. So literally in a way that automatically stretches the video out. That's what I do by default, but I'm going to try keeping it even shorter as possible. Anyways, getting down to business. The spirit that I'm referring to here is a spirit that I came across in my mining projects. Before I continue, you can find the link to Naani's article in the description, and you'll also find a bunch of other interesting things there, specifically audio files. When I recorded them in the hypothetical heat of the moment. This is a spirit that back when I was still embroiled in my mining project, this was long story short a project that I had where I was simply treasure hunting, where I went treasure hunting, specifically part 2 because I first started out this project in 2019 and this year, let's just say in the middle of this year, June, July, around that time, June, July, around that time, is when I started up part 2, essentially, basically a 2.0 version of my own treasure hunting expeditions. And I simply worked with a Jupiterian angel called Alexander, and I went to locations, etc., etc. You can simply see the article that is linked in the description of this video, and within it you'll find a referential link to the article that I'm referring to if you haven't done so, if you haven't read it already. In any case, that's the gist of it. I went treasure hunting, etc. I was pointed to specific locations where treasure was hidden, like gold, diamond, silver, blah 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 blah, with the help of a Jupiterian angel called Alexander. And the last time, essentially, that I went to, before I mention this, I need to point out that generally speaking, on these trips, with the exception of once, I came across, once or twice, I did come across miscellaneous spirits when going deep into the forest / tropical rainforest / jungle, you name it. But my point is, specifically what this video is about, is that at the end, the last time I went to specifically study a plant that is an indicator of the presence of gold nearby. When I went on that last trip, I drew the attention of a very strong miscellaneous forest spirit, and this forest spirit made a noise and or sound similar to an explosion, and there was no rational explanation for said explosion, that for example someone else might have caused it, or a tree fell over or anything like that. No. The place was absolutely deserted, you name it. I and my companions were the only ones there. It just goes on. Point in cases, I've already confirmed that the sound that was made by Naani. I'm simply doing this article on him as per his request, which I don't mind, of course. I found him intriguing, but I simply forgot about him, and automatically his presence from my life disappeared. But as is the case with all the spirits that I work with, and even the ones that I haven't worked with, just any spirit in general, all I have to do is think about them and they come to me. More or less. Now I'm simply going to read off of the notes that I have here on him. Hold on for a second. Come on. Yeah, just give me a second, please. So notes on Naani or Naana. Naani or Naana thrives in tropical environments, but he's open to helping anyone globally. Obviously extremely fond of rugged nature, would appreciate outdoor offerings. He's a miscellaneous nature spirit of a higher rank nature. Theoretically speaking, he's slightly higher ranked than elementals, but take note that this is the case only in theory, only in capital letters. Elementals are still more practical. He has no planetary alignment and he falls under my beloved Vice Lord Sandalphon. His specialty is wealth and terrestrial goods. So, for example, treasure, you name it, things in the bowels of the earth, so to speak, precious metals, minerals, mining, you name it. He has average skill in artistic talents, e.g. singing, music making, dancing, etc. The only drawback of his personality is that he is very stubborn and or rigid in his way or line of thinking. But he is exceptionally powerful by his own standards as a miscellaneous forest spirit. Last but not least, I end my notes with the following. Technically, Friday would be okay for best day to work with, but only in theory. In actuality, any day is good. So yeah, and as usual, I'll briefly elaborate on this. Yeah, that's the case with Naani Or Naana. When I went to the jungle, the last time that I went, when I got home afterwards, in the evening, I simply had Naani Or Naana near me. And the first thing I noticed about him is his exceptional power. He appears simply as a transparent figure, kind of like a realistic form of Casper. And he hovers above the ground. But Naani Or Naana, again, I'm going to simply use Naani. I prefer Naani personally. Naani simply has a thingy. Naani simply has, especially when I first came into contact with him, he has like an aura and an echoous voice. And you can feel his power, okay, as in, wow, this is an exceptionally strong nature spirit that covers a good deal of basically forests globally. So Naani isn't secluded or confined to one location, but yeah, generally speaking, spirits aren't. But Naani is the first miscellaneous nature spirit that I've come across that covers a good part of the world. Essentially, in Naani's own saying, he covers, or as per his own saying, he covers a good part of the world, 3/4 approximately, where there is a forest, essentially, primarily desolate forests, places where very few people venture and where there is a minimal in terms of fauna presence. So there is a very minor amount of animals. There are a very minor amount of animals present. And yeah, when I checked Naani out in terms of information on him and what he can do, essentially what he can provide, it's as my notes state. Naani is he belongs to the earth, and generally speaking, that's why he falls under Sandalphon in a general sense, of course. But even within his own right, essentially, Naani is still a separate kind of individual. He is similar to the higher self in that aspect, in the separation aspect, but in power, of course, his power ridiculously pales in comparison to higher selves. Again, see the end of this video if you want to know what I'm referring to with the higher self, if you haven't watched that video already, as well as with the treasure hunting video, you name it. I'm going to link everything in the end screen as well. And yeah, Naani is exceptionally powerful, and he is fond of outdoor rituals as well. So if you want to host outdoor rituals for Naani, it's highly recommended. He prefers that. He says even if you can't host like a one-time ritual and you're afraid that, for example, the makeshift altar that you'll be making for him is going to be in your backyard, for example, if you live in a forested area, the way I do. It's going to be, picked off by animals, or it's going to be interrupted in some way, shape or form due to just plain exposure. Something similar to a shack or a mini temple, if you will, similar to an outhouse-like setting. Of course, an outhouse is a disgusting example because it's a toilet, but you know what I mean. My point is a shed-like temple would be something that he would be very satisfied with. It doesn't have to be surrounded by walls on all sides, but it provides just enough shelter or adequacy to the point where it's undisturbed for the most part, or preferably entirely undisturbed. That's what he would like. It's about the principle. He just likes the outdoors for obvious reasons, and he would prefer, for example, an altar made to him done in the outdoors. But he is not opposed to just an indoor altar. He'll make do with what he has or what he can. As he also understands the operator and the magician, and that sometimes you can't have what you want at first glance and whatnot. Generally speaking, obviously, he also prefers offerings alongside in a naturistic context, like fruits, vegetables, meat also, but preferably raw meat, he says. It just goes on. You can use your imagination. Okay, outdoor offerings, plain and simple. Water, you name it, juice, anything that you can think of that comes from nature itself. As well as, of course, money, precious metals and or minerals, gold, silver, diamonds, blah, 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 blah. More or less the same kind of things that Sandalphon desires, but up in a much more mundane context, not in a heavy-handed context, as in the ridiculously valuable things and therefore expensive things. No, more to in a dumbed-down version, flowers. It just goes on. You know what I mean. Enough examples. And yeah, like I said, that's Naani's specialty. Naani can bring you wealth. End of story. You want money, Naani can bring it to you. And his exceptional power is definitely something. He has a lot of energy, His exceptional level of power also is a testament to that. Like an average skill level is in relation to art forms, music, dancing. He can also help you in that department. But his skill level is average, like I said, when it comes to art forms. Anything that you consider an art form, painting, it just goes on. But as always, you need to prove yourself to him. He'll only bestow this power on you, noteworthy power, when you have proven that you're worth it, as in, boom, you're worth it, you're really worth it. So you have to put your back into it, hypothetically speaking. Last but not least, the only drawback with Naani is that he's rugged and rigid. He has a one-track mind and one-track intent in terms of thinking. So he's not even remotely willing to, generally speaking, he is at the very least, very reluctant. And generally speaking, not even remotely willing to deviate from the norm. He works in a black and white fashion, this is this, that is that, end of story. He's not willing to adapt in any way, shape, or form in general, only if he absolutely, inexplicably has to. Generally speaking, he's not willing to adapt to anything or anyone in order to accomplish the objectives of the operator, of you as a magician, if you work with Naani. That's a Martian trait. He also has somewhat of a Martian tendency. That's where the high energy level comes from. Because my beloved Lord Samael says, it's a slight reminder of himself. But yeah, that is it. And that is all. Just see the article for the rest. See you guys later. Bye.